The gift of kindness. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Denver International Airport, casting long golden rays across the polished floor. Sarah Mitchell stood in line at gate 27, her carry-on bag resting by her feet. She'd been waiting for almost 30 minutes, watching the crowd grow larger and more restless with each passing moment. The flight to Seattle had been overbooked. Sarah could hear the stress in the gate agent's voice as she made another announcement, asking for volunteers to give up their seats. Sarah glanced at her watch. She had nowhere urgent to be. Her sister's wedding wasn't until the weekend, and it was only Tuesday morning. Still, she had been looking forward to arriving early, to helping with the final preparations and spending time with family. She adjusted the strap of her bag and looked around the gate area. Families sat clustered together on the blue seats. Business travelers typed frantically on their laptops. A teenager slept with headphones covering her ears. Everyone seemed lost in their own world, their own journey. Then Sarah noticed him. A man stood near the boarding desk, holding a small child in his arms. The little girl couldn't have been more than 2 years old. She wore a pink vest over a white shirt, and her curly brown hair framed her tired face. The man looked exhausted. His grey blazer was wrinkled, and dark circles shadowed his eyes. He spoke quietly with the gate agent, his voice too low for Sarah to hear, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. The little girl began to cry softly, rubbing her eyes with small fists. The man bounced her gently, whispering something into her ear, but the crying continued. Sarah watched as he shifted the child's weight, trying to comfort her while still speaking to the agent. Something about the scene touched her heart. She had always been sensitive to the struggles of others, perhaps too sensitive, her mother often said. The gate agent shook her head, gesturing to her computer screen. The man's shoulders dropped further. He turned away from the desk, still holding the crying child, and stood there in the middle of the crowded gate area, looking lost. Sarah made her decision before she could talk herself out of it. She picked up her bag and walked toward the boarding desk. Her heart beat a little faster as she approached the gate agent. A woman with red hair pulled back into a tight bun. "Excuse me," Sarah said softly. "I'd like to volunteer my seat." The gate agent looked up, surprise flickering across her tired face. "Are you sure?" "The next available flight isn't until this evening." Sarah nodded. "I'm sure. I'd like to give my seat to that man with the little girl." The agent glanced over at the man, then back at Sarah. "That's very kind of you. Let me process this." Sarah waited while the agent typed on her keyboard, printed out new boarding passes, and made notes on her screen. The whole process took only a few minutes, but it felt longer. Sarah kept her eyes on the floor, suddenly feeling self-conscious about her gesture. "All right," the agent said finally. "You're all set for the 7 o'clock flight tonight. We'll give you a travel voucher for your trouble, and I'll let Mr. Harrison know about the seat." Sarah thanked her and stepped aside. She watched as the agent called the man over. Mr. Harrison approached slowly, still bouncing the little girl, whose cries had softened to quiet whimpers. The agent explained the situation, pointing towards Sarah. The man turned to look at her. His eyes were a deep brown, and up close, Sarah could see the exhaustion etched into every line of his face. But there was something else there too, surprise and perhaps disbelief. He walked over to where Sarah stood. "You're giving up your seat for us?" Sarah nodded, feeling suddenly shy. "You both look like you need to get home." "I can wait." The man stared at her for a long moment. The little girl had stopped crying and now rested her head on his shoulder, watching Sarah with curious eyes. "I don't know what to say," he said quietly. "We've been traveling for 2 days. Emma here," he gestured to the child, "hasn't slept properly since we left. My wife is waiting for us at home. This means more than you could possibly know." Sarah smiled. "I'm glad I could help. I hope you both have a safe flight. What's your name?" he asked. "Sarah. Sarah Mitchell." He shifted Emma to his other arm and reached into his blazer pocket, pulling out a business card. "I'm James Harrison. Please take this. I'd like to repay your kindness somehow." Sarah accepted the card politely, but didn't look at it. "That's not necessary, really. I'm just happy you can get home." James studied her face for another moment, as if trying to memorize it. Then he smiled, a genuine smile that transformed his tired features. "Thank you, Sarah Mitchell. You've restored my faith in humanity today." They called his boarding group, and James had to go. He thanked Sarah once more, then carried Emma toward the gate. The little girl lifted her head from his shoulder and waved a small hand at Sarah. Sarah waved back, feeling a warm glow spread through her chest. The rest of the day passed slowly. Sarah found a quiet corner of the airport, bought a sandwich she didn't really want, and read a book on her phone. She texted her sister to explain the delay. Finally, evening arrived, and she boarded her flight to Seattle. 3 days later, after the wedding festivities had ended, Sarah returned home to her small apartment in Denver. A large package waited outside her door. Confused, she checked the label. It was addressed to her, but she hadn't ordered anything. Inside her apartment, Sarah opened the box carefully. On top lay an envelope. She opened it and pulled out a handwritten letter. "Dear Sarah," it began, "I cannot thank you enough for what you did at the airport. You had no way of knowing this, but Emma and I were returning from a very difficult trip. My father had passed away, and we had been at his bedside for his final days. Emma was exhausted, and so was I. When we were told the flight was overbooked, I felt completely defeated. Then you appeared, like an angel, and gave us the gift of getting home to my wife, to our family, to the comfort we desperately needed. You didn't ask who I was or what I could do for you. You simply saw two people who needed help, and you helped them. That kind of genuine kindness is rare in this world. I've enclosed a small token of my gratitude, along with a scholarship fund established in your name at Denver Community College. Young people like you who lead with compassion deserve to be supported in return. If you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. With deepest gratitude, James Harrison." Sarah's hands trembled as she set down the letter. Inside the box was another envelope containing a check that made her gasp, along with paperwork about the scholarship fund. Only then did she remember the business card James had given her. She found it in her purse and read it for the first time. James Harrison, Chief Executive Officer, Harrison Technologies. Sarah sat down on her couch, overwhelmed. She had given up her seat for a CEO, for a millionaire, but none of that mattered. What mattered was that a tired father and his daughter had made it home safely. What mattered was that in a busy airport full of strangers, two people had connected through a simple act of kindness. She picked up her phone and composed a text to the number on the business card. "Thank you for your generosity, but the real gift was seeing Emma smile. I hope you're all well. Take care of each other." The response came quickly. "We will. Thank you for reminding me what matters most." Sarah looked out her window at the Denver skyline, glowing in the evening light. She thought about chance encounters, about the ripples one small choice could make. She had given up a seat on a plane, nothing more. But somehow in that moment, she had given something far more valuable, hope to a grieving father and his child. And in return, she had received something priceless too, the knowledge that kindness still mattered, that compassion could bridge any divide, and that the smallest gestures could change everything.